Hey guys, so I've been discussing the Georgia runoff races quite a bit before this, but today I want to take a look at how voters feel about the 2020 election and specifically how they feel about President Trump as of this point in time and a possible 2024 run for the current president of the United States. Before we get into that, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, the link to which is at the very top of the description below, and I'll be updating you guys a lot more on there on these elections as well as events for the Georgia runoffs on January 5th. So taking a look at this survey that basically discussed how voters feel about Donald Trump's 2024 possible run. As you can see, just 32% of responders feel that the president should run for a second non-consecutive term. He would be the second president to win a second non-consecutive term if he were to win, the other being Grover Cleveland over 100 years ago. So this would be a pretty big deal if Trump won 2 non-consecutive terms. They typically don't do that. If you lose, you typically don't run again if you are a former president. So 67% of Republicans say he would support Trump 2024. However, this was 90%. 90% of Republicans supported Trump's 2020 run. So this is quite a drop for the current president of the United States. A 23% decrease in support. That's a quarter of the votes among his own party. So taking a look at how voters feel about whether or not Trump should concede, 61% said that the official results are accurate, that Joe Biden did win the 2020 election. 60% of Republicans feel that Trump is going to run again, and I'm pretty sure this is a typo. This is 76% of Republicans. Sorry about that. This is 60% of voters overall. So 60% of voters think that Trump is likely to run again. 76% of Republicans, 60% of independents, and then 47% of Democrats. So definitely a lot more confidence in a Trump 2024 run among Republicans than among Democrats. 76 to 47. And an earlier survey found that Donald Trump would receive 53% of Republican support if he were to run in 2024. So that really isn't the best, but if he were to become the nominee in 2024, that number would definitely go up. He would probably gain back a lot of that support, although he would be, very, very old. He would become the oldest president ever inaugurated if he were to win in 2024, record that he has already broken, and Joe Biden in January will break once again. So our presidents are really just getting older at this point. Trump, of course, has refused Biden's victory, and so it's basically it. This just shows that Trump has lost a considerable amount of support among Republicans for a 2024 run. I think that although Republicans have defended Trump quite a bit, even after this, a lot of them do want a fresh face, someone younger leading the Republican Party, which I think will be good for the Republican Party to have someone younger and for them to hold, they're going to hold the primary. But I think that if Donald Trump were to win that primary, I think he is going to win that primary if he really were to run. And in my opinion, I think that Donald Trump will win the nomination, or will not win the nomination, but he will run for president again in 2024 unless he has any major health issues that would make it impossible for him to run, or if some scandal would come out about him that would even turn Republicans away from him. I think that unless those things occur, Donald Trump is going to run again in 2024. It'll be interesting to see what he does as of this point in time as a former president, whether or not he actually shows up at the inauguration. I don't think he's going to go to the inauguration. That'll be, pretty different, although the inauguration is going to be virtual, I believe, so he's probably going to be holding something else, to compete with ratings, I believe he said. So we'll see what happens on Inauguration Day. And then taking a look at these morning consult polls, the first one shows that nearly half of strong Trump backers believe the election results will be overturned. So basically, these lines each show a different demographic. The red line shows voters who strongly approve of Trump, how they feel about whether or not the election will be overturned. Voters who somewhat approve of Trump, voters who somewhat disapprove, and then voters who strongly disapprove of Donald Trump and how they feel about the issue of the election being overturned. So among voters who feel that Donald Trump, are very strong supporters of Donald Trump, as you can see, this is November 16th and November 9th. So on November 9th, 47% of them felt that the election results were going to be overturned. This is after Joe Biden was declared the victory by basically all large major news networks, 47% on November 9th. This increased to just a majority or half of the strongly approving of Donald Trump at 50% on November 16th. Keep in mind, Donald Trump has yet to concede this election. November 23rd, that was 46%, and then December 7th, 45%. So the number of voters that strongly approve of Trump, that believe that the election results are going to be overturned, have dropped over time. Taking a look at the voters who somewhat approve of Donald Trump, as you can see, 27%, 27, 24, and then 18, so that's decreasing, and then the all registered voters as one whole group, 19% right now. Among those who somewhat disapprove and strongly disapprove, it's a lot lower. For those who somewhat disapprove, it's just 14%, and then just 8% for voters who strongly disapprove of President Trump. And then here, Democratic trust in elections. This is basically just how, not democratic trust, but just trust in elections as in general. This is how both parties feel about the legitimacy of these elections. So basically, Democrats have skyrocketed after they won this election. They feel that the election has been very fair. Before this, it was pretty even, around 2/3 of Americans, while Republicans, their numbers have plummeted to just 34% on November 9th. Right now it sits at 36%, which is not good. Among independents, it's basically stayed the same. Their numbers have been consistently lower than those of the Republicans and Democrats before the elections, though. Independents really not as high as the Democrats and Republicans were, but now it's Democrats leading over independents and Republicans in terms of the amount of voters in each party that feel that the system is fair or unfair. So taking a look at, how they feel, whether or not the election was fair or not. So those who feel that the election was fair between Democrats, as you can see, a majority of them. And then Republicans, very low, but it's still 29%, which, I think that's a good sign that, there are many Republicans, that voted for Donald Trump that do feel that the election was free and fair. Among independents, this number has increased as well to 61% just 3 days ago. Most Republicans want Trump to concede now. This is basically showing just whether, the percentage of voters in each party and what they want Donald Trump to do at this point in time or in the future. So all registered voters, basically 48% of them think, this is all registered voters, in general on average, they think that 48% of them think that Trump should concede right away, and then 28% think that he should concede if he's unable to back up claims of, fraud, as he's been going to court about all of that. He has not won any major battles. 9% have no opinion or don't know, and then 14% of all voters feel that he should not concede no matter what happens. Democrats, 74% of course to 16%, and a surprising 4% of Democrats think that Donald Trump, under any circumstances, should not concede this election. Among independents, it is 46% to 30%. It's pretty similar to the all registered voters numbers. However, a lot more of them don't have an opinion, and 11% think that Donald Trump should not concede no matter what. Among Republicans, only 18% of them think that Trump should concede right away. So 18% of Republican voters feel that he has already lost and that he should accept that defeat. 42% think that he should concede eventually if his claims, do not, gain a lot of support in court. If he's not able to win those court battles, he should concede the election if he's not going to win it. That's 42% of Republicans. That makes up 60% feel that Donald Trump should concede either now or at some point in time. 29% feel that he should not, and 10% have no opinion or are unsure. And the Republicans who trust official election results, basically just how much they trust it. Democrats are very high right now, 87%. All registered voters, 62, 61 among independents. Independents have basically just always been a little bit lower. And then among the Republicans, just 28%. That's a huge drop from just before the election. And then the voters, this is just out of voters who mistrust the results. Basically, the gray bar is the amount of voters who think that, this or this thing on the left was a reason as to why they do not trust the election results. That's among all voters who feel that way. So Democrats, Independents, Republicans, but among just Republicans, that is the red bar. So the largest is mail-in voting, which I think is very unfortunate because there's been no scientific claims or evidence that shows that mail-in voting actually leads to more voter fraud. That is simply a fact that simply just does not occur. There's been voting for not voting fraud. There's been mail-in voting for a very long time. I mean, a quarter of the votes that were cast in 2016 were mail-in votes, and that was an election that Donald Trump won. And most of the people who don't believe in the results also feel that the ballots were tampered with, and you have poll watchers weren't allowed into voting locations that much. Systems that store voting were hacked or temporarily altered. Media, basically they claim that the media was unfair. The USPS didn't do enough, which is something that Trump basically defunded with Louis DeJoy. State and local officials, took actions to help. That's a pretty significant chunk as well. A third, voter intimidation, a third as well. Disinformation campaigns, and then just the most unpopular reason for why those who are skeptical of the results feel that way is because foreign actors interfered in the election process. Even for states that Trump won, Democrats trust the results more than Republicans. So this is basically among those voters, how many people in these states trust the election results. So even in the state of Florida, 79% of Democrats feel that Donald Trump won Florida, while 55% of Republicans feel that Trump has won Florida. Basically, they trust the results a lot less in a state that they had actually won, which is pretty surprising. And then overall, only 2/3 of all registered voters trust that Donald Trump beat Joe Biden. In the state of Texas, only 82% of Democrats feel that Trump won. It's just 54% of Republicans. Only half of Republicans think that Donald Trump won their state, although the results here were, the least they've been in decades for the Republican Party. North Carolina, same thing. I mean, only 43% of Republicans think that the results in their state are reliable based on what they've seen, read, or heard in the state of North Carolina. Let's say that Trump won. I mean, that's pretty surprising. Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, these states that Donald Trump lost, the numbers are much lower, sitting at around just a quarter of Republicans to a very, very large chunk of Democrats that believe the results. Republican support for mail-in votes, they have dropped even more. Originally, it's 54%, so this is pretty surprising, actually. A majority of Republicans trusted mail-in votes or supported it, but after the election, 38, now it sits at 37. Democrats, really no change. It's been pretty high this whole time in the 80s. And then all registered voters down 60%. Independents, trusting it a little bit more than Republicans, but much less than the Democrats. So basically, these are some pretty interesting polls conducted by Morning Consult on the 2020 election. It's basically surrounding, trust in the election and what they think Donald Trump should do, as he has lost this election. There's no other way to put it. Donald Trump has lost this election. He is not going to be re-inaugurated on January 20th. So that's basically that. Also want to take a look at something else here. I do want to take a look at some new Senate polls. Warnock +3, Perdue +2, according to two new data for progress polls. I'll be making an official prediction pretty soon. However, these polls were conducted from November 15th to the 20th, so the latest polls do still show Ossoff +1, Loeffler +5. So this race is very, very close. And as I said, I believe 2 days ago, the results here in the state of Georgia, comparing to the polls, were pretty accurate. It was 1.3% on average. You can even see presidential general election, 1.2% actually, and the actual results were basically 0.24%. So it really wasn't off too much, just a little bit less than 1%. So these results, they really just were not too bad. And, the results are pretty accurate. I mean, on October 25th, that was 9 days before the election. So Georgia polls are not as bad as polls in some other states. I mean, take a look at, just for example, Michigan. I mean, plus 7.9%. Wisconsin, even more. I mean, plus 8.4%. I mean, something has greatly gone wrong with polling. However, in Georgia, it does seem a lot more reliable as of this point in time. So the Senate race is very, very close right now, and most Republicans do not think that Donald Trump should run, or not most Republicans, but a huge chunk of Republicans do not feel that Trump should run for another term in 2024. So I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you join my Discord server if you haven't logged, the link to which is at the very top of the description below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see all of you guys in the next video.